Welcome to another episode of Keeping It Real with Chinese Medicine. I'm Jimmy Yen, aka the AcuSensei, and I am your host. And today we're going to talk about Chinese herbs. Herbs, if you have like this chronic, persistent gut issue, if you have this chronic, persistent gut issue, that's what we're talking about today. And so that could be from, let's say you've had an infection and you've taken all the antibiotics and it helps, but then your GI gets upset, your gut gets upset again, you're fatigued, you're bloated, you're constipated, you have diarrhea, you feel nauseous, you're just tired all the time. And it's just like you're going up and down, you're like a yo-yo, right? And so also you could have gone to, practitioners, holistic practitioners, functional medicine practitioners, had your stool test, your blood work, and all this test, and they give you all these supplements, a bucket of supplements, and you feel a little better, but it just doesn't stay. It's like it's if you have to be like so perfect on your diet, otherwise any slip in your diet, your gut just blows up again. You balloon up, you feel like you're pregnant, and all of this stuff, right? That is what I call chronic digestive disorders. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about an herb in Chinese medicine. So in this podcast, we are only talking about Chinese herbs because that's what I was trained in. Okay, I wasn't trained in Western herbs. I wasn't trained in Ayurvedic herbs. I'm only trained in traditional Chinese medicine herbs. So that's what this podcast series is all about. And today we're going to talk about a very popular and a very common used herb in Chinese medicine. In Chinese, it's called Huang Lian, and in English, it's called Coptis. And I'm going to share my screen, and so we can go. I can show you more detail so you can see it while I am talking. Okay. So Huang Lian, it looks like this. So it's a root. Okay. Let me make it bigger so you can see. It's a root. It's a yellow. Huang it actually means yellow. Lian means connected. But the English name is Coptis or Coptis root. And you might actually have heard of this because a lot of supplement companies are putting this Chinese herb into their mixture because they found an active ingredient that is very super powerful. It's called berberine, right? So if you didn't know, berberine is commonly used in supplements to reduce blood sugar. Okay, so can Huang Lian, this herb Huang Lian, Coptis, be used to reduce blood sugar? Absolutely, it can. The pharmaceutical name is Rhizoma coptitis. Coptitis. Uh, I'm probably butchering these names, and I will probably butcher future herb names, so forgive me. I know I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. So when we look at herbs, I'm going to explain, I'm going to show to you, from a Chinese medicine perspective and then a Western medicine perspective or a layman's term perspective. Okay. So regardless if you have Chinese medicine training or not, it doesn't matter. I will break it down very simple so that just anybody, a layperson, can understand. But I figure I add some medical terminology, whether from Chinese medicine or Western medicine, so that for all of the audience, I have practitioners who also follow me and also learn from me as well. So one thing when we look at herbs in Chinese medicine, we call it TCM, traditional Chinese medicine. I'll use that's what it means when I use the word TCM. Okay, so we look at the properties of it. Properties are kind of like the nature of the herb. So we have for Huang Lian or Coptis, it is bitter and cold. And so what does that mean? That means if you ever chew on this herb or you make a tea out of it, it is bitter. Like it is super bitter. All right. Most people are like, yeah, that's kind of their face. And cold, cold in nature means that it's cooling for the body, right? So if your body has a fever, you can actually take Guanglian and it will cool down your fever. So that's what properties mean. Okay. Channels basically means, and actually I should put organs. In Chinese medicine, we use the word channels, but for a layperson, I'll just use the word organs. So what organs does this herb, Huang Lian, Coptis, really address? What does it affect? Well, it affects your liver, your heart, your liver, your stomach, and your large intestine. And the liver, stomach, and large intestine, they're part of your digestive system. That's why this herb is so good for chronic digestive disorders. So if you have a chronic digestive problem, whether it's gastritis, it's colitis, it's any type of constipation, diarrhea, you can add a little of this herb and it will help you break through your plateau. Or if you're not even getting any benefits from your supplements or your medication, this herb in conjunction with your medication and supplements can help boost those effects. In talking about medications, let me give you a disclaimer. I am not a physician, so I am not dispensing medical advice. Before you take any herbs, you need to consult your physician, your medical doctor. I am required to say that for legal purposes, okay? I won't get into that. So coming back to the topic of Huang Lian, Coptis. So Coptis, it can help improve your heart function, your liver function, your stomach function, and your large intestine function, okay? The dosage. So when traditionally, see, if you got this herb right here, you would cook it. That's what we call by decoction. So the common dosage is only to add 2 to 10 grams, which is small. This is in regards to Chinese medicine, this is small dosage, right? So if you weigh 2 to 10 grams of this herb, there's not a lot. And because this herb is so powerful for your digestive system, okay? The max dosage is 15 grams. If you take too much, you will get side effects from this, and I will go over the side effects. Okay, so the dosage, I would say the safe dosage is between 2 to 15, but they're usually prescribed 2 to 10 grams. Now, if you take it in powder form, here's another thing I want to just inform you. And if you go to a Chinese medicine practitioner, so a TCM practitioner, and they give you herbs, they will never, and they will never, typically 99.9%, never give you a single herb. Because a single herb by itself, it does have side effects. However, if you combine it in a formula with other herbs, like 10, 20 other herbs, then those side effects are neutralized. But I'll do another podcast to explain why Chinese medicine never uses single herbs compared to what Western medicine or Western herbal herbology, they typically use only one single herb as a time. For example, St. John's wort, they just use that, right? One single herb. And so in Chinese medicine, we never use one single herb. It's always in combination. It's just like it's so 3,000 years ago, they were so brilliant to neutralize they knew that to give all the benefits of the herbs without the side effects, you want to combine them with other herbs that neutralize side effects, okay? But again, like I said, that's for another podcast. The TCM effects of this herb, Huang Lian. So Huang Lian, remember, TCM is traditional Chinese medicine. So the TCM effects, I'm going to just read through them and I'm going to explain them in layman's terms, okay? So the TCM effects is it clears heat, dries dampness, it sedates fire, it clears fire toxin, especially for dermatological disorders, okay? Clears heat, what does that actually mean? Well, that's kind of like, when you have an infection, you get a fever, that is heat, right? You feel hot, that is heat, right? Well, this herb, because remember, it is cold in nature, it can clear that heat, it can calm that heat, it can cool that heat. Now, dries dampness. Because it's bitter, bitter herbs can dry dampness. What is dampness? Dampness is kind of like, I like to compare it to like a stagnant pond. You ever see a stagnant pond and you compare it to a river? You look at a river compared to a stagnant pond. What's the difference? The main difference is just look at the sides of it. Sides, look at the river. It's usually clear. The water is clear and it's not dirty, right? Now, of course, there's no mudslide or anything like that. But if you look at a pond, it's usually filthy because it's stagnant water. And just like stagnant water anywhere in your house, it grows mold. That is dampness. Dampness is that mold, mildew, that icky stuff, right? That thing that stagnates, that is dampness. Bitter herbs like Huang Lian can help drain and dry up that ickiness. right? So imagine that in your body. You have this, when we retain toxins, what happens? We gain weight. So this herb could also be used for weight loss, okay? At a small dosage. Sedates fire, again, it's like clear heat. It just really calms. So it has a calming. So this herb can also be used in combination with herbs that help you sleep. Because in Chinese medicine, the heart controls your sleep. So if your heart, if you go to sleep and you're all burning up or you're all anxious and you can't fall asleep, this herb, you add this herb into your formula, it can help. It can help calm that anxiety because it helps restore function in your heart. And the last thing is clears fire toxin. So clears fire toxin, again, that's just more like toxicity, toxins. Again, you have a stagnant pond, right? And things are not flowing. That's what, like your skin. If you get psoriasis, you get acne on your skin, that is toxins accumulating on your skin. This herb can help drain that toxin from your body. So when we talk about side effects, what are some of the side effects? Well, some people may be allergic to this herb, so you got to take a small dosage of it and try it out first. You could have dizziness, headaches, tinnitus, nausea, vomiting, palpitations, shortness of breath, abdominal fullness, diarrhea, reduction of red blood cell. Now, this is if you use this herb by itself. If you just use this herb these side effects occur in two situations. When you use too much of it, remember the max dose is 15 grams. When you use too much of it, you could get these side effects. Okay. Also, if you use this single herb by itself, like you don't combine it with other herbs, you can also get this side effect, right? So these side effects are because of two reasons. Again, you're using it as a single herb by itself. You're only taking this herb by itself. You're not combining it with other herbs, other Chinese herbs. That's first cause. Second cause is you use too much of it. Now let's go to the Western medicine or pharmacological effects. And then I also have some clinical studies and research that have been done on this herb, right? There has been tons of studies, clinical studies done on Chinese herbs, but they just haven't been done in the US. And so the US Western Medical Society Association will not acknowledge any research done outside of the US. That is the facts. How you want to take that, that is up to you. Personally, I think that's weird. Many of the scientists, Nobel Prize winners, are all over the world. They're not just born in the US. They're not just here in the US. Many of them in Europe and Asia, right? So I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. I just think it's wrong. But you believe what you want to believe. So here's the research. This herb, Huang Lian Coptis, has antibiotic and antifungal effects. And especially for bacteria dysentery, they tested 1,000 patients, and they all had excellent clinical results. The treatment course was very short, and there was low incidence of side effects using this herb, Coptis, Huang Lian. For pulmonary tuberculosis, they tested 100 patients with 0.3 grams of berberine, which is one of the active ingredients in Coptis. They gave this 100 patients 0.3 grams of berberine 3 times per day for 3 months with good results. Osteomyelitis, so infection of the bones, that's what it is. They tested 87 patients with Huang Lian decoction. So remember, they cooked Huang Lian 3 times a day with 100% success rate. Wow. I don't know of any medication that can do that. An average recovery period was 22.32 days. The decoction was 65 grams of Huang Lian powder and 2,000 milliliters of boiling water for 15 minutes. Yes, that went past this dosage of 15 grams. That's why, hey, before you do any of these herbs, number one, the only people trained in prescribing herbs are traditional Chinese medicine practitioners. Okay, no doctors, unless they have the license as a in Texas, it's called a licensed acupuncturist. In other states, it's called different things. Unless they're trained in Oriental medicine, no physician is trained in Chinese herbs. They don't know what they do. So they're going to tell you don't take it because they don't know anything about it. No nurse practitioner, no physician assistant, no chiropractor, no functional medicine practitioner, none of them, unless they have gone through the training as a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, they do not know how to use herbs. Okay. Cholagogic, I'm probably mispronouncing that, but what that means is this herb helps your gallbladder. Okay. It increases production and decreases density of bile acid. And so guess what? If it decreases the density of bile acid, right, you have a less chance of getting gallstones. So if you have a family history of gallstones, or you have a history of gallstones, this herb could help you. And this herb can also help reduce cholesterol levels. Okay. Anti-ulcer. So this herb can be used to treat ulcers. Ulcers are, infections in your stomach, E. coli infections. They cause an ulcer in your stomach, a peptic ulcer. Well, this herb can inhibit secretion of gastric acid, which treats peptic ulcers. It also has antiviral effects. It has inhibitory effect against, I spelled that wrong, against influenza and hepatitis virus. It also has anti-inflammatory effects. So enteritis, inflammation of your intestines. They tested 100 patients, 2 to 3 grams were given 4 to 6 times per day, and they all showed marked improvement. All right. Again, this dosage that I told you, right? This is the safe dosage. Can it be used more? Absolutely, but you do not go over the counter. Don't be saying, oh, hey, Jimmy, the AcuSensei told me to go to the nutrition store and get this Coptis and self-dosage myself. No, that's not what I'm telling you to do. Do not do that, okay? You need to get with a practitioner who knows what they're doing, who knows how to prescribe this, and who knows herbology. Now, you'll notice I say traditional Chinese medicine practitioner because not all acupuncturists in the US are trained in herbs. Many states, like in the East Coast, New York, New Jersey, they do not require acupuncturists to have herbal training. And technically, they cannot prescribe herbal medicine. So you need to go to a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner who is trained in herbology. Now, in the state of Texas, every acupuncturist, even though we're called acupuncturists, we are required to take the state board exam for Chinese herbology. Okay, but not all 50 states are required to take herbology. Anti-inflammatory, enteritis. I already talked about this. Cardiovascular. This herb, remember heart? Remember I said it helps restore your heart function, right? Cardiovascular, IV of berberine of 0.1 to 6 milligrams per kilogram lowered blood pressure in anesthetized dogs, cats, and rats. The mechanism of the blood pressure reduction was Coptis or Huang Lian can actually dilate your blood vessels, which means it opens up your blood vessels. More blood circulation lowers the blood pressure. And it causes an inhibition of secretion of the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands secrete cortisol, which causes things to tighten up, stress out, stress hormone, right? So Coptis, Huang Lian, causes things to relax, right? So it's similar to a blood pressure medication called ACE inhibitors. ACE inhibitors. They do the same thing. They relax the blood vessels, okay? Arrhythmia, so irregular heartbeats. 50 patients with hard-to-treat arrhythmia given 0.3 to 0.5 grams of berberine 3 to 4 times per day, they showed marked effectiveness with 40% of the patients. It's not high, okay? 40% ain't super high compared to the 100% that I said up here, right? But still, if you are having problems, arrhythmia in Western medicine, they use medications. They usually use beta blockers, which is also a blood pressure medication. They use beta blockers to try to regulate it. But many times it's hard to regulate, okay? Because arrhythmia is fast heartbeat, slow heartbeat, fast heartbeat, okay, slow heartbeat. And so it's just irregular. So for 40%, hey, it's worth a try. Hypertension, 88 patients with treatments, patients were treated with 0.6 to 1.8 grams of berberine 3 times per day with an effective rate of 70 to 93.3%. That is pretty high, okay? So hypertension. So again, same thing up here. So this was done on people. This was done on animals. So the animals, they found out it worked. So they did it on people. And now this is berberine, okay? So berberine is not the same as Coptis, the whole herb. Berberine is just an active ingredient of Huang Lian Coptis. But if berberine can do it, that means if you actually took the entire herb, Coptis, root, Huang Lian, you would probably get better effects than this. Okay? So this is, if you have chronic digestive disorders, definitely you want to talk to your Chinese medicine practitioner to see, hey, do they have Huang Lian in your prescription? So hopefully this was beneficial. Let me know in the chat if you want me to continue to talk about Chinese herbs and how to use them in your, in your personal life and how they can help improve your health. Comment below, subscribe to our channel, hit the subscribe button. I will be doing a series, and there's thousands of herbs. So I can go through them one by one, okay? And then we'll go through formulas about how to combine these, which combinations are going to be good for you, and which combinations are like, no, 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 right? So comment below. Let me know if you want to hear more of this. And I'll see you at the next episode.